Let's have a great big yawn while we're finding our cozy place. Letting our eyes get all heavy, brain get quiet. Ready? Just relax. Get ready to listen to one of my all time favorite stories, Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. Chapter 1 Down the Rabbit Hole. Alice was tired of sitting by her sister on the grassy bank and having nothing to do. Her sister was reading a book with no pictures or conversations in it. It looked very dull. It was a hot day, and Alice was sleepy. She was wondering whether to get up and make a daisy chain, when suddenly a white rabbit with pink eyes ran close by her. Oh dear, I shall be late," the white rabbit said. He took a watch out of his waistcoat pocket, looked at it, and hurried on. Alice had never seen a rabbit with a waistcoat before, nor one with a watch to take out of his pocket. She jumped to her feet and ran after him, just in time to see him pop down a large rabbit hole under the hedge. Alice followed him, never thinking about how she was going to get out again. The rabbit hole went on like a tunnel for some way, but suddenly Alice found herself falling down a very deep well. She was falling slowly, so she had time to look around and see all sorts of interesting things along the way. "I wonder how many thousands of miles I've fallen," she thought. "I must be somewhere near the center of the earth. Perhaps I'll fall right through to the other side." But just then, thump, 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 down she came on a heap of leaves, without hurting herself at all. Ahead of her, at the end of a long passage, she saw the white rabbit hurrying along. "Oh, my ears and whiskers, how late it's getting!" she heard him say as he turned the corner. Chapter 2 The Gold Key. By the time Alice reached the corner, the white rabbit had gone. She found herself in a long hall lit by lamps in the ceiling. There were doors all the way round, but they were locked. How was she going to get out? She then saw a little table made of glass. On top of it was a gold key, but it was too small to unlock any of the doors. Then Alice noticed a low curtain. Behind it, she found a tiny door, only 15 inches high. The key fitted perfectly. Alice had to kneel down to look through the door. There was a small passage, not much larger than a rat hole, that led to the loveliest garden she had ever seen. But she was too big to get her head through the doorway. "I wish I could shut up like a telescope," she said to herself. She walked back to the glass table. To her surprise, there was a bottle on it, which had not been there before. A label round its neck said "Drink Me" in large letters. Alice took a sip. It was delicious and tasted of all Alice's favorite foods, so she drank it up. "What a curious feeling," said Alice. "I must be shutting up like a telescope." And so she was. Soon she was only 10 inches high, just the right size to go through the little door into the lovely garden. But poor Alice! When she got to the door, she realized that she had left the gold key on top of the glass table, and now she was too small to reach it. She tried to climb up one of the table legs, but it was too slippery. At last, tired out, she sat down and cried. Then she noticed a little glass box on the floor, just under the table. Inside it was a very small cake with the words "Eat Me" beautifully marked on it in currants. "Well, I'll eat it," thought Alice. If it makes me larger, I can reach the key, and if it makes me smaller, I can creep under the door. So either way, I'll get into the garden." She nibbled the cake, and soon she had finished it all up. Chapter 3. The Pool of Tears. "Curiouser and curiouser!" cried Alice. "Now I'm opening out like the largest telescope that ever was." Her feet were so far away that she wondered how she would get her shoes and stockings off and on. Then her head struck against the ceiling. Alice was more than 9 feet tall. She picked up the little gold key and hurried off to the garden door. But poor Alice could only look into the garden with one eye by lying down on the floor. She sat down and began to cry again. "What a great baby you are!" she scolded herself, but she could not stop crying. Soon there was a large pool of tears around her, reaching halfway down the hall. After a while she heard a pattering of feet in the distance. Alice dried her eyes and saw the White Rabbit coming back. He was carrying a fan and a pair of white gloves, and muttering, "Oh, the Duchess! Oh, the Duchess! Won't she be cross if I have kept her waiting?" "Please, sir, could you help me?" asked Alice timidly. But when he saw her, the White Rabbit dropped his fan and gloves and scurried off as quickly as he could. Alice picked up the things he had dropped. It was very hot, so she began to fan herself. She felt very strange. "I'm not my usual self at all," she thought. "Perhaps I've changed into somebody else. I'll see if I still know the things I learned at school. 4 times 5 is 12, and 5 times 6 is 13. London is the capital of Paris, and Paris is the capital of Rome. That can't be right," she sobbed. "I must be somebody else." Then she noticed that she had managed to put on one of the White Rabbit's little gloves. "I'm small again!" she cried, and ran off to the garden door. But now it was shut, and the gold key was back on the glass table. "Now things are worse than ever," she thought. Her foot slipped, and splash! She was up to her chin in salt water, in the pool of tears. Chapter 4. The Mouse's Tale. Alice soon found that she was not alone. A mouse was swimming a little way off. To Alice, it looked as big as a hippopotamus. "Oh, Mouse," she said politely, "do you know the way out of this pool?" The mouse did not answer. "Perhaps it's a French mouse and doesn't speak English," thought Alice. She only knew one sentence in French from school. "Où est mon chat?" she asked hopefully. The mouse nearly jumped out of the water and quivered with fright. "Oh, I beg your pardon," apologized Alice. "I forgot. Mice don't like cats." "Would you like cats or dogs if you were me?" squeaked the mouse indignantly. "I suppose not," said Alice, and they swam together to the shore. A strange, bedraggled collection of birds and animals had gathered there. They were running races in circles, organized by a dodo, to get themselves dry, and Alice and the mouse watched them with interest. When the races were finished, Alice asked the mouse to tell her about himself and why he hated C and D. She was afraid to say cats and dogs. "Mine is a long and sad tale," he said, sighing. Alice had been looking at the mouse's tail as he spoke. "It is long," she said, "but why do you call it sad?" So when he began his story, Alice's idea of it was something like this. Furry said to a mouse that he met in the house, "Let us both go to law. I will prosecute you. Come, I'll take no denial. We must have the trial, for really this morning I've nothing to do. Said the mouse to the cur, such a trial, dear sir, with no jury or judge, would be wasting our breath. I'll be judge, I'll be jury, said the cunning old furry. I'll try the whole cause and condemn you to death. You're not attending, the mouse said crossly. Yes, I am, said Alice. I think you'd got to the fifth bend. I had not, said the mouse sharply. And not, said Alice, always ready to help. Oh, let me help you to undo it. But the mouse was offended and would not stay to finish his story. Chapter 5. Advice from a Caterpillar. Meanwhile, the White Rabbit's fan and gloves had vanished, and so had the pool of tears, the hall, and the glass table. Instead, Alice found herself on the edge of a wood. She ran through grass and flowers till she came to a mushroom that was as big as she was. On top of it sat a large blue caterpillar, with its arms folded, quietly smoking a hookah, which is a sort of long, curly water pipe. At first the caterpillar took no notice of Alice, but after a while it took the hookah out of its mouth and asked in a sleepy voice, Who are you? Poor Alice was not at all sure who she was. I can't remember things as I used to, and I don't stay the same size for 10 minutes together, she said. What size do you want to be? Asked the caterpillar. I'm not really particular about size, replied Alice, but I should like to be a little larger than I am now. 3 inches is such a silly size to be. The caterpillar drew itself up to its full height, which was exactly 3 inches tall. It is a very good height indeed, it said angrily, and began to crawl away. As it went, the caterpillar remarked, One side will make you taller, and the other side will make you shorter. One side of what? Asked Alice. Of the mushroom, of course, said the caterpillar crossly, and a moment later it was out of sight. Alice put her arms round the edges of the mushroom as far as she could reach and broke off 2 pieces. She nibbled each piece in turn until she had managed to bring her height up to just 9 inches. Then she set off again till she came to a house. Alice went up to the door and knocked timidly. There was a most extraordinary noise going on inside, howling, sneezing, and every so often a crash, as if a dish had been broken. There was no answer to her knock, so Alice pushed the door open and marched in. Well, and we stop there for tonight. Alice is on a big adventure. The reason this is one of my favorite books is because it reminds me that life is an adventure. And she doesn't give up when it gets hard, when it gets a little scary, when it gets weird. She doesn't quit. She keeps going. And you are brave, and you are strong, and you keep going with your adventure. Let's get some rest. Go out and see what tomorrow has for you. Good night.